Welcome back to another mock draft. We have mock draft 3.0 for the Kansas City Chiefs coming in using PFF, of course. And we're going to go through one more time. This time, I think trading back instead of trading up. I want to experiment around with a few trades and just see, what we can do, where we can move around, and what's available to really try to improve the depth of this Kansas City Chiefs team. I think a lot of questions have kind of been answered. I think the offensive line looks, we'll say, decent at this point. Obviously some work to do, and we'll see what that actually looks like once we get towards training camp and into the preseason and really see what the Chiefs have and what they've been doing. I think left guard is a really interesting spot right now with Kingsley Sumatia. Kind of the thought process to move him over to left guard. What Wanye Morris will become. Is he going to stay that swing tackle, kind of back up the tackle position with Jaylon Moore and Jawan Taylor, or are they going to try to squeeze him in at left guard as well, give some competition? I think drafting some competition for that position would be great. So let's get into this mock draft. Make sure, before we get into this mock draft, that you are subscribed to the channel. Hit that subscribe button for me and smash the like button if you enjoy these mock drafts. Let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, let's get into talking about our last draft, mock draft 2.0 for the Chiefs. We traded up 2 spots for Luther Burden III at 29. We only had to give up our Mr. Irrelevant pick to move up from 31 to 29. Where we got Burden, Benjamin Morrison came in at pick 63. Omar Norman Lott at 66. Charles Grant, 95. Savion Jones at 133. Jackson Slater at 226. And Kay Madrano at 251. So got quite a bit of help on the offensive line, as well as defensive line, a little bit of depth at linebacker, and picked up a cornerback. So today I kind of want to experiment working with a trade down instead of up this time. That one kind of just happened as I was playing around with the mock draft simulator, and Buffalo took Luther Burden. I thought if we could get ahead of Buffalo and take Luther Burden in front of him, get another wide receiver. So shout out real quick to Original Thunder Dude. He had a scenario, basically. He commented on the last video thinking our best plan was to, or that we had many needs that we needed to fill. He did one where he traded Trey Smith for an extra first and third round pick in this draft, which I don't love trading Trey Smith. I do think that the Chiefs obviously need big-time help with the offensive line. We're not 100% sure about left guard, but I do think that Jaylon Moore added is going to alleviate a lot of this. So right now, I don't love the thought of getting rid of another piece to hopefully, I guess, build upon that. But I think keeping Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey intact, I think, is, really only have one spot you need to fill for 2025 is left guard. And I do think Trey Smith gets a long-term deal worked out with the Chiefs, so I don't like the idea of trading him. Real quick on the setup one more time. Same as last time pretty much. I kept the draft for needs, care for positional value the same. Bumped up the public versus PFF board a little bit towards the PFF side, and bumped up the randomness just a little bit. So let's jump in to this first round of the draft. All right, so here we are at pick 31. Luther Burden is available for us, that has fallen to us, which is, that's tough to not take that as he falls to 31. Josh Connerly and Tyler Booker both being taken right in front of us, so offensive line going heavy. Interesting. Josh Simmons goes at 25. Gray Zabel actually off the board at 23, which the few drafts that I've played around with, Gray Zabel has been still there, and the Packers in both of those drafts have taken Luther Burden. Cam Ward falls all the way to Pittsburgh at pick 21. Boy, that would be an absolute shocker. Kelvin Banks goes at 19. Mike Green to the Seahawks. Any other surprises? Abdul Carter goes number 2. Travis Hunter, number 1 overall. Interesting pick for the Titans. Ashton Jeanty going to the Patriots. So let's get into our pick and talk about this a little bit because, again, hard not to take Luther Burden right there. But let's see what we can get out of this. The Patriots are next, or the first ones that want to trade with us at pick 38. There's nothing else there. I'm not interested in pick 90 or 97. So let's see if we move back. Right here, though, is such a weird spot because I don't know if we really have too much that is such a need for the Chiefs that's necessarily available. Other than if you just want to go out and get another wide receiver in Luther Burden III. Omar Norman-Lott, I do like a lot for the Chiefs, but I don't know, taking him at 31, I don't think that's the right move either. So let's see if we can work something out with the Patriots. Okay, so we'll see how this works out for us, but we do get another pick inside the top 100. We trade pick 31 and 133 to move up to 38 and 77. We also give up a 6th-round pick for next year, which already picked up the Bears' 4th-round pick for Tooney, obviously, for next year. So I felt like it balanced out a little bit and helped us get up a little bit in this draft. And so let's see what shakes out here. Okay, so the Patriots trade up for a different receiver. Luther Burden doesn't even go till 34. I'm kind of shocked with that. So now at 38, I do feel a little bit better taking Omar Norman-Lott right here. And Nick Scorton is still there as well, which that's another guy that I do kind of like. I think maybe just a little biased. He's just watching him destroy Mizzou in that game. 6'4", 285. Let's see his cons. Loses edge contained by crashing down too often. Could be that's what he's taught, so maybe a little bit different in the NFL. And once Spags and the defensive coaching staff gets him in, if that were to be the case. Isn't as violent defending against the run as he could be, which Omar Norman-Lott kind of another guy that we're looking at just pass rushing capability, essentially. So what I think we're going to go with is going to be Omar Norman-Lott for our first pick. I think getting a really good pass rusher in there beside Chris Jones and helping out with a lot of the rotation. I don't think the D-line is as much of a necessity as what I'm seeing it be. I mean, maybe compared to other positions, but I almost think linebacker at depth is, or depth at linebacker would be right up there with defensive line, just for the simple fact that outside of Drew Tranquill, Nick Bolton, I know you just put a lot of money into Nick Bolton, and Leo Chanel. You know, what is his contract going to look like coming up? And, you know, Drew Tranquill is not getting any younger. I think that it's a good group, but past that, there's not a lot of depth there at linebacker. So we are going to go with Omar Norman-Lott and help out our defensive line. I also don't think offensive line is necessarily as big as, you know, first round. We have to get, you know, somebody on the offensive line, first pick or any of that, just for the simple fact that you do have a left tackle already. You only need a left guard. Depends on what you think Sumatia could do. Wanye Morris is up there, possibly, you know, competing for that left guard job. So we'll see. So our next pick at 63. 63 and 66 are a little weird to me just because I'm not 100% sure where to go with this team. Kevin Winston Jr. is available, and he's got a high run defense but very low coverage grade. Partially torn ACL, ended his junior season after just 2 games. Only 1 interception in his career. Reaction time can be a tick behind sometimes. Also want to look at the average depth of tackle. Not great. At 5 yards, high intelligence player with quick twitch, able to diagnose plays pre and post snap and make plays on the ball. Was outstanding when asked to cover man-to-man. That's solid, and especially, let's look at the size to see 6'2", 208. Okay. Maybe, you know, be able to cover some tight ends there. As a ball hawk, you'll find in this class, or as good of a ball hawk as you'll find in this class. Has great hands and always seems to be in the right place at the right time. I do like adding safety depth or secondary depth, just period, honestly, in this draft. So at 63, though, we have a defensive tackle now that can rush the passer. Tate Ratledge, I think, is a decent pick at guard as well. Now, to get somebody to develop at tackle, I think, is still a smart pick here at some point in this draft. Not saying that, you know, we shouldn't be worried about the offensive line, just I don't think it's as important necessarily. So with our pick at 63, we're going to go to Kevin Winston Jr., since he fell to us. Let's see what happens at 66. Shamar Turner went off the board right after that. Shout out to Original Thunder Dude. That was one of the guys that he had in his mock draft as well. So now we are back at 66 with another weird kind of pick. So I think our next two picks, I'm going to try to go offensive line. And I do like Ratledge over going Ursery here, just for the simple fact that hopefully at 77, our guy is on the board. And so we're going to take Tate Ratledge there and go to pick 77. So let me see who I'm looking for is still on the board. Charles Grant is. So if you watch my last mock draft, this is a guy that I really do like. In Charles Grant as a development player, just because he hasn't been playing football too long, and he played at William & Mary last year. So this is a project essentially at left tackle, but he has the size, 6'4", 300 pounds. Look at some of the analysis on him. Light and powerful in lower body, above average lateral quickness, which I think is huge, especially at this day and age in the NFL. These edge rushers are insane. Gets across defenders on reach blocks with ease. Advances to the second level quickly, which help in the run game. RPO, all kinds of gadget plays the Chiefs like to run. Wrestling background gives him a finisher's mentality, which I do really like. I think offensive linemen should really invest in, whether it's wrestling or MMA, grappling, jiu-jitsu, you name it. I think for hand fighting and stuff like that, just really helpful. So I do like that as well. The wrestling background, that's huge for me of just getting that next step. We'll face a serious jumping competition, just 4 starts against FBS teams. Low hand setup and pass protection allows defenders into his chest, struggles to gear his feet down when sizing up defenders at the second level. So, again, a raw prospect here in Charles Grant, but I do like at 77 we've got him. I do really like this pick. Anthony Belton. Shout out to Original Thunder Dude again, kind of looking into some of his picks that he had. Anthony Belton is another guy that I think could be a good build upon and add depth, 6'6", 336. Good length and raw power at 345, mauls opposing defensive linemen. When he has a clean shot, more explosive than expected. Gets to the second level with ease, stonewalls power rushers with strength in his pass protection, hard to bull rush him. Lacks high-end lateral quickness, though. Some issues with speed rushers. Late hands and pass protection often lets defenders into his chest, having length to engulf them. Footwork needs work, causes him to be off balance at times. So I think similar prospects here. 6'6", 336 versus Charles Grant at 6'4", 300 pounds, a little bit smaller than Anthony Belton, but does have a good reach. And a year younger. So I am going to go ahead and go with Charles Grant here. I think we'll look real quick through a couple of these guys. But I think Charles Grant is the guy that I like just as a prospect for the Chiefs to develop. Let him get in with Jaylon Moore and really work with Andy Heck and this offensive coaching staff. Jonathan Savianea, I hope I pronounced that right. The tackle out of Arizona, which I did like some of his tape that I watched. But we are going to go Charles Grant. I think he might be my draft crush at this point, going with him in both of these drafts. So now we are at 95. I do like the safety we ended up picking, though, in Kevin Winston Jr., because I think safety kind of gets a little bit weird there towards the end as well. At 95, I do want to see what cornerbacks are left on the board. We don't pick until 226 now. So that's the only problem of trading our, 133, I think. I would like to see a corner. I also don't know if running back is such a huge need. You still have Pacheco coming off that injury. Obviously wasn't as good last year. But then you also have Kareem Hunt, which, he's older. But the signing of Elijah Moore as well, I think helps you out. So I don't think that running back is as critical as maybe getting a little bit more help on the secondary front. But we also haven't gotten an edge yet either, which I would like to see an edge rusher to help out. Although I do think you have good rotation at the moment. Savion Jones is a guy that I do like, just the size, and we picked him in the last one. Good pass rusher, could rotate him in, but I do think that maybe thinking about it at this point, the Chiefs need guys that are better and more well-versed defending the run up front, and seeing that Ashton Gillett is available. Size on him, 6'3", 275. Good weight in lower half for a strong leg drive. Lack of height, but consistently wins leverage battle. Very strong player overall. Good first step explosiveness, no false steps. Has physical mentality needed for trench play. And look at some of his cons. Likes to push his blockers, but needs to get off blockers quicker. Hands are fast, but not precise. Arm length will be below the threshold for some teams. Somewhat limited flexibility for bend and changing directions. So we'll go back to his grades one more time just to take a look. 78 against the run. I don't know if that's good enough. Yeah, I just don't know if that's good enough for us. But 20.9% pass rush win rate. Maybe just a better overall prospect. I think I'm talking myself into this pick right now. Just for the simple fact that getting that pass rush availability, we might have been able to hold off in this one. But with the way the tackles are flying off the board early, we probably could have got Charles Grant with this pick. I just figured they'd keep going, and especially from what I've seen and what I've been doing with the mock draft simulator, I figured tackle would be able, or would be a little bit higher. Savion Williams is another guy, the original Blue Thunder guy, or Thunder dude, had, that I also do really like. 6'5", 225. But if I'm not mistaken, he has also taken snaps out of the backfield. I'm trying to see if they have any of his rushing stats in here. It doesn't look like it, but let's look at some of his analysis as well. Let's look at some of the cons first. Extends hands a little bit too much to push off defenders. Footwork isn't as precise as it needs to be. He needs to win with his feet more. Some bad drops in 2024. Sometimes has false step out of his releases. But the pros, elite contested catch receiver, which I think is kind of a need for the Chiefs. They don't have a ton of guys, and we haven't seen it as much as Xavier Worthy has shown that he can track the ball. So I do think you at least have one guy that can track the ball down the field. But to have a guy that can go up and get the ball, I think is a need that they wanted with Justin Ross, and it just hasn't panned out. Impressive explosiveness and long speed for his size. So you might be able to get some, something over the top. I actually do kind of like the Savion Williams pick right here at 95, and I think that's where we're going to go with this. So 95, we are going to take Savion Williams. I think. Hold on. Let me double check this real quick, because Harold Fannin Jr. is another one that I do kind of like. 96.4 receiving grade. I mean, 6'4", 230. Look at some of his analysis. Cons, movements can look a bit lumbering. Out-toed stance efforts. Requires gather steps when truly changing direction. Lateral stiffness limits pass blocking ability. But the pros, has playmaker mentality when the ball is in his hands. Good burst out of his stance. Has the balance to create yards after contact. Strong hands at the catch point. Nice wiggle to get across the face of coverage defenders. Move tight end who can play in the slot or outside as an X receiver. Now, see, this might be a guy that could be really good for the Chiefs and give some help and let Travis Kelce, teach somebody a little bit. We got the offensive line help. We've got a little bit of help on the defensive side in the secondary and on the defensive line. So, man, I think I'm going to go ahead and go Harold Fannin, actually. I talked myself into Savion Williams. I think I've talked myself out of that into Harold Fannin, just to give a little bit of a different take. Savion Jones is a guy that I really like for the Chiefs, and we haven't addressed an edge rusher, but I think there is enough depth to go and get a prospect that could maybe develop into a real playmaker for the Chiefs, because, I mean, it's not like Noah Gray hasn't been around for quite some time in Kansas City. I know you also have Wiley at tight end, but just add more depth to that position. And let's see what we can go with here at 226. So we have 3 picks remaining in this draft, 226, 251, 257. See if we can make these some value picks. Going to running back. So first things first, I'm going to go to running back just to check it out because I know a lot of Chiefs fans would like to see the Chiefs take a running back at some point in this draft. And I think we're going to go with Raheem Sanders here. I do like the receiving stats for him. I don't think there's any analysis or anything, but you've got a 6', 230 back that can catch out of the backfield, and hoping that he can be a good pass blocker as well with that frame at 230 and help out, because I think that's something that the Chiefs have missed from Jerick McKinnon the last year or so. Not having a back that, Jerick McKinnon was so good at chipping in the backfield and helping that offensive line out. Really helped hide Orlando Brown Jr.'s struggles a couple of years ago, and helped him get a pretty good contract from Cincinnati Bengals, I think, because a lot of times it showed up on film that he was getting a lot of help from number 1 back there. So I think that Pacheco is also good at helping out and chipping. He's gotten a lot better at it. So adding another guy that can catch out of the backfield, I feel like kind of you got the run game taken care of, at least for this year. I think some of the problems for the Chiefs aren't that necessarily they need a guy to step in and be that guy right now. It's, what does this look like 2026 and beyond a little bit. So Raheem Sanders, to get him into the system, I think that that's a pretty good pick at running back and add a little bit of depth to that running back room. Next up, we have pick 251. And let me see if we've gone. So we haven't gone with a corner at all yet. And I do like Zach Frazier in the spot. The first mock draft I did, we got Kobe Bryant, and I do like that pick just for the playmaking ability he shows. And I don't think that it's a bad pick for the Chiefs at some point in this draft. But nonetheless, I do think that just drafting a cornerback in general is going to help. Now, Zach Frazier, let's go to all the corners first, because who we have left is going to matter here. Got about a split grade right here with Nico Reed. Run defense at an 89.9. I actually might like Nico Reed. He's progressed at Oregon versus a guy coming out of UTSA. Nico Reed's going to be a guy that faced Big Ten talent throughout his career. And I don't know, just that man coverage grade scares me a little bit on Zach Frazier, honestly. But had a very solid year last year. Forced incompletions, 8. 2 dropped interceptions, 2 missed tackles, 2 coverage stops. Average depth of target, 16.9 yards. This man lined up on the D line 5 times last year. That's kind of wild. Got a couple times in the slot. But both coverage and run defense grade pretty good there from Zach Frazier. I don't know. Got a little bit more in the slot from Nico Reed out of 50 snaps. Average depth of target, 11.9. Didn't drop any interceptions. 8 coverage stops, 7 forced incompletions, and 3 missed tackles. So it's just that man coverage that really, I think, makes a difference to go Nico Reed over Zach Frazier. And I think that's where we're going to go with this one. Look at these grades. Completion percentage, 59.2 against him versus 47.4. So I'm going to go with my original thought. I've been saying Zach this whole time. Za Frazier, excuse me. We're going to go Za Frazier at 251 and finish this out with Mr. Irrelevant. Now, this is an interesting pick. We got another tackle on the board, possibly. A few receivers out here, a linebacker. Kane Medrano was our Mr. Irrelevant pick in our last draft, or I guess we didn't have that pick, but at 251. He's still available at 257. And kind of look at what Kareem Reed Bad coverage grade, and I don't think that's what the Chiefs need right now. If we're going to go depth, I think the coverage grade needs to be higher. Tough missed tackle rate from Adreno. Let's look at Jaylon Walker. Better missed tackle grade. Good pass rush grade. Run defense decent on 84.5. Average depth of run tackle at 3.4. Coverage grade at 71.2. And I mean, this is just a straight depth pick. So Jaylon Walker is the most all-around player right here left. And I do think, like I said, I think just adding depth to that linebacker spot is a good move for the Chiefs. So let's see this and grade our draft, see what PFF says. So we got one trade in that we traded that pick 31 to move down a few spots to 38. We also picked up pick number 77. We gave up 133 and a 2026 round 6 pick. So I think it evened out pretty good. I mean, we moved up from the 4th to early in the 3rd round right there by just moving down 7 spots. We end up getting Omar Norman Lott as our first pick at 38. Kevin Winston Jr. at 63. Tate Rutledge at 66. Charles Grant at 77. Harold Fannin Jr. tied in at 95. We got a running back, Raheem Sanders, at 226. Some corner depth with Zoff Frazier at 251. And some linebacker depth at 257 with Jaylon Walker. Got an overall grade of a B from PFF. Let's see what they said about Tate Rutledge, that we should have picked Jared Ivey instead, which I actually had one other one where I picked him at 63. I didn't love that pick at 63. But maybe to give us a little bit more edge depth, because we completely skipped out on an edge. But for me personally, I think that you can wait until next year. I think you're still got time left to see how FAU develops in 2026. He showed signs of, developing to be a little bit better, getting better. Obviously not a starter, but a rotational guy. I mean, you got Karlaftis and Omenihu re-signed. I cannot remember the guy that the Chiefs just picked up, former Raider, to add some depth as well. I want to get in on his film and kind of check that out. So I will do that before I put another one of these mock drafts up, of completely omitting a defensive edge rusher. Let me know below and give me the grade that you got. Give me your takes, who you like in this draft and who you would be picking, or trades. What do you think about trading? I think trading Trey Smith is a little bit crazy, but I do see the vision with trading Trey Smith also, and clearing up a ton of cap space. So make sure you leave your comment below. Smash that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button for me as well, as it truly does help. On the road to 350 subscribers. I'm trying to hit that 500 mark before the next NFL season starts. Going to be having film breakdowns coming your way of just player-specific film breakdowns. Probably, I'm going to try to at least get in one more mock draft before this draft really kicks off. Excited to see what the Chiefs are going to do. Until the next time, again, make sure you sound off in those comments. Let me know who you're picking.